I've had my fair share of creepy people throughout my life. Bucharest is a city where things like this rarely happens, so just take it from me. I had bad luck. First of all, let me just say that I'm not your average scaredy cat dude who legs it when someone stares at them for too long, like I've seen some posters here. I'm also not gonna hide under my bed if my house gets broken into. You better believe I'll stomp their asses with no regards of my own safety. Keyboard warrioring aside, there's been a few moments that I've had with total strangers that have been scarring. Genuinely terrifying moments. I'm going to be talking about the most fucked up situation that I have ever been in my life and hope to any god out there that it never happens again. The incident happened 4 years ago before New Year's Eve. I was 18 at the time and have finished high school in summer, and with no activity and nothing else to do, I decided to look for something I could do part-time with my limited skill set and talents. The only things I was remotely good at was playing video games and boxing. My mom found out this casting job in a newspaper article back when she didn't know how to browse the internet, and she called and set up a meeting without really talking to me about it. I decided to play along since I was searching for something anyway, and casting in some shows seemed like an awesome choice. I'm 6'1" and I was skinny at the time, so I figured they could make me wear stuff like a clothing model. Needless to say, my naivety got the best of me and I didn't realize things did not work that way. I went to the casting studio and the place was a total wreck. It was in some rundown building at the edge of the city. No windows, the bricks in the wall were cracked and the withering vegetation was getting a hold of the whole place. It was also strange that there were no people around, but I figured, since this is the city's edge and all, then it should be a normal sight. I realized there was no front door, so I went down some stairway on the far end of the building which led me to a rotted wooden door. There was no handle or anything, so I didn't even know if I should push or try to pull it with the tip of my fingers. Somehow, I decided that it must be the wrong place, so I called their number, which my mom provided me with, and somebody answered. It was ... Well, she said she was a woman, but I thought she was a man at first. She had such a low-pitched voice. She was very sweet and patient with me and told me that this is indeed the building I should go into, that I should try to hold the door and push it up a bit and then pull it towards me slowly so it wouldn't break from the hinges, and to not be afraid when I come inside because it's going to be pitch black. Apparently there's no electricity in that area, so I just need to go forward until I feel another door, and that's going to take me to another hallway which is completely lit up and take me to their office. Now hold up, what kind of insane dumbass do you think I am to do this? I watched too many horror movies to know this is all kinds of bad. The lady on the other side told me a brief explanation of why the office is like this. Apparently, this was an apartment complex built in the 60s, but it got really wrecked after the '77 earthquake, which killed quite a few people because some of the pillars on the second floor were unstable beforehand, so they had to close it, and no one's really done anything with it since. Since this casting company's budget was really low, they couldn't afford to have a nice-looking office and to be in a good-looking place, or at least a safe one if you're having trouble with the logic here. These were her words, not mine. One thing that I found sketchy is that somewhere in this conversation, she said, "You're alone." Yeah. I thought it was a bit strange. As if she could see me somehow. Her story seemed legit, though. I closed the call, opened the rotting door, and sure enough, darkness. I should point out that when I pulled the door to me, I should point out that there was a chair in front of the door, probably to block it from collapsing inwards, as it apparently swung both ways because of its state of decay. Activated my phone flashlight to look around, and it was really empty. Just a few chairs in a corner and a white, ragged and dirty-looking tarp on the ground next to them. The door in the front had the same aspect of rotting wood. I figured that they would at least renovate that one to make it look more appealing. I push the door gently and it opens with a very loud creak. I think I should have pulled it ... but this one had no handle as well. Everything was still dark. I started questioning the system that they use and the fact that they're not professional. The lady told me that the hallway would be lit up, yet it wasn't. With my phone flashlight still on, I scanned the room for clues as to where the office might be. I know how this must seem to you, the reader. How did I not pick up on this incredibly sketchy situation? I am just used to this. In the past, me and my parents didn't have light sources in our backyard, so whenever I need to get something from the pantry which also did not have a light source, I would do so in total darkness. This whole thing was getting on my nerves, so I deactivated my flashlight and decided to call the number again. As soon as I put my phone at my ear and the light it emitted went out, I heard a loud creak behind me, the sound of the rotting door that I pushed out earlier getting put back into place. I jumped at the sound and let out a sharp yell. I instinctively put my phone out, but the light the dial screen was letting out was too weak to see in front of me. "Hello?" I asked in a worried voice. No response, but in a second I could hear the dial tone from my phone and I hear the Nokia ringtone, the piano one, from the other side of the room where the door had been closed. I stay silent for a moment and the ringing stops. I have never been more horrified in my life. I crouched down and started moving along the wall to my left as quickly and as quietly as possible. I hear very quiet footsteps coming from my right, but I couldn't tell if they were coming toward me. I formulated a very basic escape plan in an instant. I had a general idea of where the door was and the footsteps seemed to be directionless. I took 2 coins of 50 bani out of my back pocket and threw them in the corner on the other side of the room and then fucking booked it. I pushed on the edge of the door at first because I ran way too fast and had no idea where the door was exactly, and then pushed against it to get out of the room. I tripped because I expected no resistance, yet a chair was blocking the other side. I heard scampered footsteps behind me and slight grunts. I get up and run away in the dark room with no regard to what I may hit on my path. I just knew the exit would be right in front of me. Sure enough, I hit another chair on the way, the one that I found blocking the door at the entrance, and it propelled me so hard that I bashed the door and knocked it out of its hinges. I opened my eyes and I was outside, so my first instinct was screaming for help at the top of my lungs. I look to the building and I finally see him. The tall, overweight man, probably around 300 lbs, carrying a cloth in one of his hands. He was wearing white tank top and jeans or sweatpants. I really couldn't be bothered to notice at the time. The expression on his face was one of pure anger. I scampered about and ran up the stairs as fast as I could, then turned right to go into town. I ran for about 3 or 4 minutes at full speed, not stopping for anything, until I finally reached the main street and see a lot of cars. I was still in a panicked state, so I beelined it for the nearest taxi and told him to take me the fuck home. I called my mom when I was halfway home and told her everything that just happened. She felt sick to her stomach and started crying that she put me in a situation that I might have died. Later that day, I filled a report to our nearest police station and they sent the dispatch there. We were informed that they found traces of a few blunts which had cannabis sativa and a double-edged razor on the ground. They also found a broken Nokia flip phone in the dirt outside. My parents told the police that if they find out anything else, to please contact them. This has left me with some serious issues, as I feel very anxious whenever I go to a job interview. I only feel relatively safe if the location is in a very public place and the interview is at rush hour. One man did this to me. So, kids, stay safe and remember, your martial arts training doesn't mean shit when you're scared shitless.